This is going to be a playthrough of Malastro. Malastro is a roguelike game. If you are unfamiliar with the genre, that means it's going to have a lot of procedurally generated content, so the game changes every time you play through it. It's a turn-based game, and it's got a heavy focus on inventory management, and it's a game about staying alive, basically. So I'm going to start a new game here, and it's remembered my character name from last time. And the first thing I have to do is choose a trait. Now, every time you gain a level, when you through getting enough experience points by killing monsters, you get to pick a new trait. And traits give you little bonuses in certain areas. I'm going to go with the resourceful trait to start with, and this trait gives me 2 extra slots in my inventory, but it's also a prerequisite for the bait and switch trait that I'll hope to get later on, and that trait will allow me to switch weapons instantly. So I'm going to choose that. And now this is the backstory of the game. It's not important to actually know the backstory, it's kind of just there for flavor, but just a quick recap of what's happened so far. The game is set in modern times, and an object of some sort has fallen from space and impacted near an American city, causing lots of devastation and destruction. And it's been a couple weeks since the initial impact, and now there are zombies and mutants and crazy things wandering the countryside. So your character has just emerged from his basement or storm cellar or wherever he was hiding out during the craziness. His food supply has run low and he needs to search for rescue. You start off pretty under-equipped. You've got a pistol, which is currently being held in my hands, and if I look at my inventory, I've got a combat knife, a few spare bullets, and a first aid kit. So one of the first things you need to do is look around and try to gather supplies. You want to avoid combat as much as possible until you are better supplied, because you can't really afford too many engagements. You'll run out of ammo, you don't have any armor to start with. So what I'm doing right now is just trying to stay close to walls, stay out of sight if possible. Already I see a couple enemies. Over here we see a couple of rot hounds. Those enemies are mostly deaf and mostly blind. They don't see me right now, they're too far away. If they come across my tracks, they will sniff me and they can start following my trail, but they don't know I'm here just yet, so I can ignore them for now. I do want to stay close to buildings as much as possible, so I can duck inside if those hounds get too close. And I just saw a couple of hounds. I'm going to wait in here a few turns. I'm just hitting the wait button. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I don't hear any barking or sniffing at the door. I didn't hear anything, so I'm going to venture outside, and nope, I don't see any sign of those hounds. So I'm just going to keep going from house to house and looking for supplies. Here I've just found a camouflage shirt, which is a type of armor I can put on, and this doesn't actually do anything for me in terms of damage reduction, but it does reduce the likelihood of being noticed by infected that might be walking around. Infected are just what the zombies are called. So in this building I see an alarm clock. Now that's a pretty useful consumable item. It's not the most useful, but what it can do is basically when you use this item from your inventory, you can give it an arbitrary countdown, and when the timer counts down to 0, then the alarm goes off and it makes a bunch of noise, and it'll draw any noise sensitive creatures in the area towards it. And just now I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I walked smack dab into this pair of rot hounds right here. And so one of them is nibbling at me and the other one is soon to be nibbling at me, and I need to kill them. So I'm just going to shoot my pistol at them for now, because that's what I've got equipped. I don't want to take more damage than I have to. But this is a pretty dangerous thing to be doing, because firing a gun makes lots of noise, and that's going to draw some unwanted attention, I'm afraid. There's another pair of dogs that are on my tail, and they're going to be sniffing at this door in just a minute. I hear them barking. I'm seeing the messages at the top of the screen saying that they're barking at me. Now the question is, have they given up their search yet, or are they still waiting outside the door? I'm pressing the wait key a few times to give them a chance to go away and look for some other prey. And here comes another pack, or is it the same pack? I am going to shoot my pistol at these. Now, the first time I fired my gun, it didn't seem to call any other enemies, so I think I'm safe shooting in this particular area. but you can never be completely sure, because sometimes if a monster doesn't come to investigate the first couple shots, they might after 5 or 6. So I'm just poking around these houses, seeing what I can find, and now I have stumbled upon a giant spider. The giant spider has one obnoxious attack it does that's a ranged attack, and that is it shoots a sticky web at you, and that can cause you to be frozen in place for a turn and be unable to do anything. Which, you know, if the spider is still at a distance from you and you're not fighting any other enemies, that's not too much of a problem. But when you're in the middle of fighting multiple enemies, that can be an issue. Now I am being tracked by 4 zombies here. We got 4 infected. 3 of them are the normal variety, and then one of them, this blue guy right here, is an armored infected. That just means he's a regular old zombie who happens to be wearing some sort of body armor. So what I'm going to do for these guys is, what should I do? I don't have all that many bullets. I'm afraid I'm going to have to flee for now, and there's more coming out of the woodwork. I'm going to loop around this building and duck into the door so I can pick them off one at a time with my knife. I'll take some damage, but... oh, where'd they go? It's like they didn't follow me inside. In that case, I'll just close the door and wait. And eventually, zombies are kind of dumb. They'll forget that they wanted to kill me, and they'll kind of go back into their default state of meandering around aimlessly. So if I poke my head out now, yeah, they're more docile now. As long as I don't make too much noise as I'm moving around, they should leave me alone. I do want to check in this little house up here. The reason I'm checking inside all the houses is because there are lots of goodies that are more likely to be found indoors. If you go wandering over the wilderness, you can find stuff out there. You can find good stuff out there, in fact. But you're more likely to find good stuff indoors. So sticking indoors is a good way to not only find supplies, but also to stay out of harm's way, because those stupid dogs are not able to open doors. Now this flat wall that's I'm up against here tells me that I'm at the far eastern side of the board, and that's where I started. So I need to travel west to get to the next safe house so I can progress to the next level. And I'm being chased by some hounds, and unfortunately I'm afraid those hounds are going to start barking and make a loud ruckus that will anger the nearby zombies. So I'm just going to use the wait key in here for a few turns. Ooh. Yeah, they're still there. They want inside. I don't plan on letting them inside. I'll wait a few more turns. Hopefully they'll lose interest and go away. I think they're gone. Now there they are, heading straight for me. Did they catch my scent? I can't quite tell. So what I'm going to do now to hopefully evade those zombies is... oh, I'm not going to be able to see them coming if I go in here, but I'm afraid this is the way I need to go. So inside this cavern, I have just stumbled upon this area right here, this glowing green goo. It's a luminescent pool, and what it's good for is when I stand in it, it heals me by basically 1 hit point per turn. So I can just stand in here for a while and get healed up. So that's one reason to go in a cavern. In this case, I have to go in the cavern because it looks like the only way through the other side, where the next safe room is through this cave. Obviously, you can't see as far in a cavern, so gotta be careful in here. We've got a pack of zombies. What am I going to do about these guys? Okay, it's time to use some of the items I've picked up. In my inventory, I've got these fuel canisters, 2 of them. What you can do with those is spread them along the ground. I'm going to use one now and spread it. And you can see the fuels kind of spreading out everywhere, and I'm going to stand at one end to get ready to light it on fire. But before I do that, I'm going to switch back to my pistol and fire a couple rounds so that all the zombies in the area know I'm over here, and they will come rushing to investigate the noise. Maybe fire one more. So hopefully they should be coming now. Here they come. So I'm going to light all that on fire, and hopefully those guys will get all burned up and I won't have to take any damage fighting them. Oh! But all this cave grass is now catching on fire, so I need to be careful as I navigate around all that stuff. I don't see any other critters. Oh, no, there's a spider. There's a spider. Oh, and I can't see him. I won't be able to see him until he gets close, so I'm going to have to deal with him up close and personal. Giant spiders have a fair number of hit points. It's not always quick to kill them off with a pistol. And I just got enough experience points to choose a new trait. So I'm going to choose the survival instinct trait, and the reason I want that one is because it is the second prerequisite for bait and switch. And what survival instinct does is it lets me become aware of any consumable items on the level that I haven't actually seen yet. So as I'm wandering the wilderness and wandering in towns, looking through buildings and stuff, see there I'm already aware. There's some fuel cans over here, and there's an improvised explosive device over there. So I know exactly where to go to get my goodies. Now this trait does not make you aware of all items. If there are weapons or ammunition, I won't know about those until I actually see them. But it is helpful to know where certain things are without having to explore for them. So I see a zombie. How many are there up here? Quite a few. Alright, so right here I see 1, 2, 3, 4 shrub lurkers. Let me look at those for you. Shrub lurkers are basically, they're like mimics, if you know what a mimic is. They look like big plants, but they're alive and they like to eat things that wander too close to them. They don't move around, they just sit in one spot. What I'm going to do is use these shrub lurkers to hopefully kill all these zombies. So I'm going to maneuver myself over behind the shrub lurkers and then fire my pistol a few times in random directions, hopefully call all the nearby zombies near me to come investigate, and they will walk right into the shrub lurkers, except for this guy who went around the shrub lurkers and did some damage to me. And I see corpses starting to pile up over there. That's a good sign. Let me come over here and see what's happening. I got a bunch of rats that have decided to come out and investigate too. Rats are not too big of a threat usually, but they can be quite obnoxious because rats can, when they get excited, call for help. They can squeak to their little furry friends nearby and they'll start coming out of the woodwork all over to accost you in their vermin-like ways. They don't do much damage when they nibble on you, but you can easily die from 1,000 paper cuts, as it were. Up here we've got another small group of zombies. Well, that's not too small. There's 5 of them. I think that's worth using a fuel can to deal with since I've got so many fuel cans. So I'm going to spread out some more fuel, whip out my pistol to make them mad at me, shoot that a couple times, and light it on fire. Watch the zombies all burn to death, and then hope there's no zombies coming from the other direction, which there are. Okay, this red guy, he is called a bloated infected. He's like a normal zombie mostly, except that when you kill him, he explodes in a shower of acid, which just got all over me because I let him get too close before I killed him. It can be helpful actually when you're dealing with large groups of zombies. If you kill the bloated infected first, sometimes the acid will get all over the other infected that are standing nearby. So I've got 2 first aid kits. I'm thinking that I might want to use one of them, heal up my wounds. There we go. It's good to be near full health because you never know when you might get into a difficult combat situation where you really can't spare that extra turn to heal up. Looking around in this room, yay, I just found not 1 but 2 pieces of armor. I'm only going to take one of them for right now. I'm going to put that on immediately. And this, if you see down here, it says padded jacket with a 1 in brackets. That means that it absorbs 1 point of damage every time I get hit. Now down here, I've also found an EPD. That's a useful device. I'm actually going to drop, what am I going to drop? I'm going to drop an alarm clock to pick that up. The EPD is a wonderful escape item. When you use it from your inventory, it basically stuns all the enemies that are in line of sight of you. And they'll start wandering around randomly for a few turns. They can still hit you if they happen to wander into you, but it's certainly a lot easier to deal with them than when they're staggering than when they're actively trying to kill you. Now I've reached the western border of the map. So now I should be pretty close to the safe house. My inventory is full, so there's really not much reason to stick around on this level unless I just want to grind for experience points, but I don't think that's necessary at this point. I've already gained a level today. So I'm just going to keep searching for that safe house. In here is an energy drink. The energy drink is another pretty good escape item to have. It's right here. And it gives you a speed boost, at least for walking around. It doesn't boost your shooting speed, but does boost your melee attack speed and your movement speed. So what I think I'm going to do is drop one of my fuel canisters to pick up this energy drink. And I do like having fuel canisters, but there's a lot to be said for having a variety of things in your inventory, because you never know what you're going to need. And since I've already got 4 fuel canisters, I think I can afford to drop one. And okay, right down here I see these blue walls. The safe house always has blue walls, so that's where I need to go. I'm just going to whack these rats with my knife and walk on in. And that is the end of day 1.